The dog was bleeding when Amara found it. That was not the shocking part. The shocking part was the man standing over it, designer shoes, white agbada, gold watch catching the Lagos afternoon sun, lifting his foot as if he was about to kick it again. "Hey!" Amara's voice cut through the noise of Balagan Market like a blade. "What are you doing? What would you do if you watched someone hurt a helpless creature in broad daylight? Hit like if kindness still matters to you, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from right now." The man turned slowly. He was not used to being shouted at. That much was clear from the way his jaw tightened, from the two large men in black who stepped forward immediately from behind him. His face was the kind of face that appeared on billboards: Chief Emeka Okonkwo, real estate mogul, philanthropist, the man whose name was on 3 hospital wings and 1 university library in Lagos State. Amara did not know that name. Not yet. She was 17 years old, carrying a second-hand nylon bag filled with tomatoes she had just bought for Mama Chisholm, the woman who let her sleep on a mat in the back room of her provision store in exchange for cleaning, cooking, and running errands. Amara had no mother, no father, no surname she trusted. She had been passed between relatives and shelters since she was 9, and what she had learned in all those years was simple: the world does not stop for pain unless someone makes it stop. So she made it stop. She stepped between the man and the dog. The animal was a lean, dark-coated mixed breed, its left ear torn, a long gash running along its ribs. It was trembling. Its eyes were not wild or fierce. They were tired, the eyes of something that had survived too many bad days in a row. Amara recognized that look. She saw it every morning in the cracked mirror behind Mama Chisholm's store. "Move," the man said. His voice was quiet. That was more frightening than if he had shouted. "This dog needs help," Amara said. She did not move. One of the men in black reached for her arm. She twisted away, clutching her bag tighter. "Don't touch me," she said. "We are in public. There are cameras everywhere." That was a guess, but it worked. The man in black hesitated. Chief Emeka Okonkwo studied her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. Not cruelly, just with surprise, like a man who had not been caught off guard in years and found the sensation almost amusing. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. "No," Amara said. "But God knows who you are. And he's watching." The silence that followed was the loudest thing in that corner of Balagan Market. A woman selling plantain nearby pressed her hand over her mouth. A young man with a phone had already started recording. Chief Okonkwo smoothed the front of his agbada, looked at his gold watch, then looked at Amara one final time. "Take the dog," he said. And he walked away. His men followed, but one of them, the taller one, with a scar above his eyebrow, paused and looked back at Amara with an expression she could not quite read. It was not anger. It was something closer to warning. Amara did not have time to think about that. She knelt beside the dog. It flinched when her hand got close, then stilled. She tore a strip of cloth from the edge of her wrapper and pressed it gently against the wound on its ribs. The dog made a low, broken sound and then, slowly, leaned its head against her knee. Something cracked open in Amara's chest. She had not been touched gently in so long that she had almost forgotten what it felt like to be needed. "I'll call you Remy," she whispered, "because you remind me of me." She carried him, all 12 struggling kilograms of him, through the back streets of Lagos Island to Mama Chisholm's shop, arriving at dusk with blood on her blouse and a stray dog in her arms and absolutely no plan. Mama Chisholm was a wide woman with a sharp tongue and a soft center she tried very hard to hide. She took one look at Amara, then at Remy, then at the blood, and said, "Heh, this child will kill me before cancer does." But she boiled water. That night, by the light of a single bulb, they cleaned Remy's wounds. He did not bite. He did not run. He lay still with his head on the concrete floor and watched Amara with those tired eyes, and something in his stillness said, "I trust you. Please don't be like the others." Amara slept beside him on her mat. For the first time in months, she slept without waking once in the night. 3 streets away, in an air-conditioned SUV parked outside a 5-star hotel, the tall man with the scar above his eyebrow was on his phone. Yes, sir. The dog is alive, he said. A girl took it. Young. She lives somewhere around Balagan. A pause. Yes, sir. I have her on video. In the back seat, Chief Emeka Okonkwo said nothing for a long time. Then, find out who she is. If you felt something in your chest when Amara stood up for that dog, you're exactly who this story was made for. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on notifications. We post new stories every week, and you do not want to miss what comes next. Drop a comment below. Would you have done what Amara did? Let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. What do you think Chief Okonkwo wants with Amara? Comment below. Mama Chisholm had a rule: no strangers, no complications, no trouble. By the third morning of Remy's stay, she had broken all three. Have you ever let one small act of kindness completely change your life? Like, if you believe goodness still exists, and tell us where in the world you're watching from right now. It started when a boy from the neighborhood, lanky, about 14, with a torn Chelsea jersey and bare feet, knocked on the back door of the provision store before sunrise. His name was Tund, and he had seen Amara carry the dog through the alley 2 nights before. I can bring food scraps from the restaurant by the junction, he said, not quite meeting anyone's eyes. My uncle works there. They throw away chicken bones and rice every night. Mama Chisholm looked at him, looked at Remy, who was sitting up now, drinking water from an old bowl, looked at Amara, who was already smiling. Fine, Mama Chisholm said. But if that dog bites one customer, I will sell him to the buka woman down the road. Are we agreed? Remy, as if he understood, wagged his tail once. Slowly, carefully, like a man in a meeting who wants to make a good impression. Tund became a daily visitor. Within a week, Remy was walking on his own. Within 2 weeks, he had claimed the corner behind the store's front counter as his territory, curling there each morning like a security guard reporting for duty. Customers who had been coming to Mama Chisholm's store for years began arriving earlier. They wanted to see the dog. They wanted to give him something: a biscuit, a piece of bread, a scratch behind the ear. Remy accepted all of it with quiet dignity. Amara watched this and felt something she had not felt in years. Not happiness exactly. Something more careful than happiness. Something that said, this might last. Be careful, but maybe this might last. She should have known better. It was a Tuesday when the man came. Not Chief Okonkwo himself. A younger man, slim, neatly dressed in a plain gray shirt and dark trousers, carrying a leather notepad under his arm. He walked into Mama Chisholm's store in the late morning, bought a bottle of malt drink he did not open, and spent 10 minutes pretending to browse a shelf of seasoning cubes. Then he looked at Remy. And Remy looked at him. Something changed in the dog's posture. Not aggression, not fear, but recognition. His nostrils worked. His ears rose slightly. He made no sound, but he moved, quietly, so that his body was between Amara and the man in gray. What a fine dog, the man in gray said pleasantly. He is not for sale, Amara said. I'm not here to buy. He smiled. I was just passing. Heard about the dog. Lagos is a small world, you know. He left. Amara stood at the store entrance watching him walk down the street and turn the corner without looking back, and the coldness that moved through her had nothing to do with the store's ceiling fan. That evening, she found Mama Chisholm sitting at the back with both hands wrapped around a cup of tea she was not drinking. Her face had a look Amara had learned to read, the look of someone who has received news they are still deciding how to share. Chisholm, Mama, Amara said softly. What happened? Mama Chisholm set down her cup. The landlord called me today, she said. 3 months' rent. He says somebody reported us for operating without a current business permit. She rubbed her eyes. I have been in this store for 11 years, Amara. 11 years, and nobody ever asked me about any permit. Amara sat down. Somebody, she repeated. Somebody, Mama Chisholm confirmed. And the way she said it made clear they were both thinking of the same someone. I'll fix it, Amara said immediately. She did not know how. She had 42 naira and a bag of rice, and a wounded dog. But she said it the way she had always survived, by saying the thing that needed to be true until she could figure out how to make it true. Mama Chisholm looked at her for a long moment. "Amara," she said, "what did you do that day in the market? Who did you cross?" Before Amara could answer, Remy stood up sharply from his corner. His head turned toward the front door. His body went rigid. Then the knock came. 3 sharp, slow, deliberate knocks, the kind that were not a question. Mama Chisholm grabbed Amara's wrist. "Don't open it." But the door was already opening. The tall man with the scar above his eyebrows stepped inside. He was alone this time. He looked at Remy, and something moved through his eyes. Surprise, then something complicated. He looked at Amara. "Chief Okonkwo would like to meet you," he said. "Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. He set a card on the counter. Expensive card stock, raised lettering, a phone number. "He says to tell you." The man paused, as if deciding whether to say it, "that the dog's name is Kalu. He has had him since he was a puppy. He went missing 6 weeks ago." Then the tall man left. Amara and Mama Chisholm stared at each other across the counter. Remy, Kalu, sat between them, looking from one face to the other, tail perfectly still. Amara did not sleep. If you've ever been caught between doing the right thing and protecting someone you love, you already understand tonight. Tell us where you're watching from, and like if this story is already in your chest. She lay on her mat in the dark with Remy pressed against her side, one hand resting on his back, and she stared at the ceiling and thought about the card on the counter and the name Kalu and the way the dog had looked at the man with the scar. That complicated, unsettled recognition of something familiar that has also hurt you. By 4 in the morning, she had made a decision. She would go. Not because she was afraid, though she was. Not because she thought Chief Okonkwo was a good man. She had seen his foot raised. She would go because she understood, in the deep practical part of herself that had kept her alive through years of having nothing, that powerful men who want something will find a way to get it. The only question was whether you faced them standing or whether they found you kneeling. Amara intended to stand. She arrived at the address on the card at 6:45, 15 minutes early, because she had learned that whoever controls the time controls the meeting. The building was in Victoria Island. Glass and steel, a uniformed guard at the gate, a fountain in the lobby that served no purpose except to say, "Money lives here." She was wearing her best blouse, dark blue cotton, pressed the night before with Mama Chisholm's travel iron. Her hair was wrapped in a neat gully, borrowed from the same woman who had also pressed 200 naira into her hand that morning and said only, "Come back." The tall man with the scar, who introduced himself, finally, as Emeka JNR, but said "Call me Junior," met her in the lobby and took her up in a lift that smelled like air freshener and new leather. Chief Okonkwo's office was on the 14th floor. It was not what she expected. She had imagined something cold and performative, a desk the size of a small village, a man behind it designed to make her feel small. But the office had plants along one entire wall, warm wooden furniture, and a full window overlooking the Lagos skyline, and Chief Emeka Okonkwo was standing at that window with his back to her when she walked in, holding a cup of coffee in both hands like an ordinary person. He turned. He was older looking in daylight, 60, perhaps 65, with gray at his temples and lines around his eyes that spoke of either wisdom or insomnia or both. "Sit," he said. "I'd rather stand," Amara said. A pause. Then he smiled, the same surprised smile from the market. "You know," he said, "Junior told me you were a child. You are not a child." "I am 17, she said. "But I have lived 40 years. He sat down instead. He put his coffee on the desk and folded his hands. "Kalu," he said, "tell me what he is like now." This was not what she expected. She had prepared for demands, for threats, for lawyers. She had not prepared for "tell me what he is like now" spoken in the voice of a man trying not to show that he was worried. She told him, carefully, watching his face. She described the way Remy Kalu had leaned against her knee in the market, the way he claimed the corner by the counter, the way he watched the door, the way he moved to stand between her and the man in gray. Chief Okonkwo was quiet for a long moment. "He was a gift," he said finally, "from my son, Chukwemeka. My son died 3 years ago. Road accident. 26 years old." He said it flatly, like a man who has said the sentence so many times he has had to remove all feeling from it in order to keep saying it without breaking. Kalu was with him when it happened.
Survived.
I have perhaps not been the most gentle with him since. Amara said nothing. I want him back, he said. Name your price. He is not mine to sell, Amara said. I just said. I know what you said. I mean, he is not property. He is not a transaction. She looked at the man directly. And I want to ask you something before we talk about anything else. Chief Okonkwo raised an eyebrow. Why was he on the street for 6 weeks? Where were the people whose job it was to find him? And why was your foot raised when I got there? The silence that followed was very long. Then Junior, who had been standing near the door, said quietly, Sir, you should tell her. Chief Okonkwo looked at his hands. Kalu ran away, he said slowly. Or he was let out. I did not discover which until recently. He looked up. I believe someone in my household released him deliberately. I don't know yet who or why. Amara felt the hairs on her arms rise. Someone tried to lose your dog on purpose, she said. Yes. And then you showed up in the market that day. Following a tip that he had been spotted near Balagan. He paused. I was angry. I was not in control of myself. What you saw, that was grief wearing the wrong face. I am not, he stopped. I am not asking you to forgive it. I am telling you what it was. Amara studied him. This powerful, complicated, grieving man. I will bring Kalu to you, she said. But I want something in return. Not money. What then? Mama Chisholm's business permit. And whoever reported her to the authorities, I want it withdrawn. Today. Chief Okonkwo looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone.
Junior, he said.
Handle it. Amara turned to leave. Wait, Chief Okonkwo said. How did you know it was us who reported her? Amara paused at the door. I didn't, she said. Until just now.
She walked out.
But in the lift, her hands were shaking. Because she had just accused the most powerful man in Lagos of petty intimidation. And he had not denied it. He had simply fixed it, which meant he was capable of much worse. And she was walking back to a store where someone she loved was vulnerable. She pulled out her phone to call Mama Chisholm and found 3 missed calls from Tund. She called back. He answered on the first ring. His voice was strange.
Tight.
Amara, he said. Come back now. There are men outside the store. They have been there since you left. They're not doing anything, they're just standing there. But Mama Chisholm locked the front door, and she won't come out. Amara ran. Would you run back into danger for the people you love? Like this if you would, and drop your location in the comments. We want to know where our family is watching from today. She ran in her best blouse through the back streets of Lagos Island, past pepper sellers and Okada riders, and a woman balancing a tray of groundnuts on her head who called after her. Careful, my daughter. And Amara did not slow down because Mama Chisholm had raised a child through a stranger's kindness, and that was worth running for. When she rounded the corner onto the street where the store sat, she saw them. 2 men in plain clothes, standing on opposite sides of the road, not looking at each other, which was exactly how men look when they have been told to watch something without appearing to. She walked straight to the closer one. I live here, she said. And you are making my mother afraid. I need you to leave. The man looked at her. He was perhaps 30, large, wearing a blue polo shirt. He said nothing. I know who sent you, she said. And I just came from a meeting with him. Check your phone. I imagine he has already sent a message. The man's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Something shifted in his posture. He looked at Amara with new attention, then nodded once, slowly, to the man across the road. Without a word, both of them walked away. Amara stood on the pavement until they had turned the corner. Then she went inside. Mama Chisholm was sitting behind the counter with a kitchen knife in her lap and Remy standing in front of her like a small, determined soldier. When she saw Amara, she put the knife down and began to cry. Quietly, with great dignity, the way strong women cry, without collapsing, without noise, just tears moving steadily down a face that refused to crumple. Amara went around the counter, and held her. "It's finished," she said. "They're gone." "Who are they?" Mama Chisholm whispered.
Amara.
"What have we walked into?" Amara told her everything. The office, the coffee, the dead son, the dog who had been deliberately released, the business permit that would be restored. Mama Chisholm listened without speaking, one hand over her mouth. When Amara finished, Mama Chisholm said, "This man, this chief. He is not the danger." "I know," Amara said. "Someone inside his house is the danger. Someone who hates him enough to hurt what he loves." "I know. And now you have put yourself in the middle of that war." "I know." Mama Chisholm looked at her for a very long time. "You are either the bravest person I have ever met," she said, "or the most foolish." "Probably both," Amara said. Remy, who had been watching this exchange, padded over and sat on Amara's feet. She looked down at him, at this dog who was not hers, who had never been hers, who belonged to a grieving man who had kicked him in a moment of broken anger and then spoken of him with his hands folded like a prayer. She made a decision. "I'm not bringing him back yet," she said. Mama Chisholm blinked. "Not until I know it's safe for him. Not until I know who let him out. Because if I hand him back and the same person gets to him again," she stopped. "He trusted me. I won't return him to a place that isn't safe." Mama Chisholm was quiet. Then she said, "You know, when I was 22, I had a daughter." She had never said this before. She was 3 days old. She got sick and I did not have enough money for the hospital, and she stopped. She pressed her lips together. "What I am saying is that I know what it is to protect something helpless with everything you have. And I know what it costs." She reached over and touched Amara's face. "You be careful. You hear me? You be very, very careful." The next morning, Chief Okonkwo called personally. "I expected you yesterday," he said. "I needed more information," Amara said. "Tell me about the people in your house. Specifically the ones who had access to Kalu." A silence. Then, "That is an unusual request. Do you want your dog back or not?" Another silence, shorter this time. "My wife, Ngozi. My daughter, Adiz, who is 24. My son's former fiancée, Ifeoma, who still lives with us. I could not bring myself to send her away after Chukwemeka died. My head of house, Mr. Obi, who has been with me 20 years. And Junior, whom you have met. And which of them, in your honest opinion, would want to take Kalu from you?" He did not answer immediately. And the pause told Amara something. He already had a suspicion. He just didn't want to say it. "Chief," she said quietly, "who are you protecting?" "Come to dinner on Saturday," he said, instead of answering. "Bring the dog. Meet my family. I will answer your question then." The line went dead. Amara lowered her phone. Tund, who had been pretending not to listen from behind a shelf of Indomie noodles, said, "Are you actually going to a chief's house for dinner?" "Yes," Amara said. "In what?" he asked, looking at her blouse. And despite everything, the men on the street, the missing dog, the unnamed enemy inside a powerful man's walls, Amara laughed. Full and sudden and real. Remy looked up at the sound, and his tail, for the first time, wagged fast. This is the chapter that changes everything, and we are only getting started. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe for every chapter and comment. Who do you think let the dog out? We're reading every single guess. The dress Mama Chisholm lent her was emerald green with gold embroidery at the collar, the kind of dress that said, "I am not asking for your approval, but I am giving you something to look at." Amara wore it and felt like someone she had not yet become, but was on her way to meeting. Have you ever walked into a room where everyone already had an opinion of you? Like if you felt like the outsider in the room, and tell us where you're watching from right now. Junior picked her up at 5:30 in a black SUV. Remy sat beside her on the back seat, clean and calm, wearing a new collar Tund had bought with his own savings, red leather, slightly too large, sitting at an angle that gave him a rakish look. Tund had cried a little when they left. He tried to cover it by pretending he had something in his eye. The Okonkwo home in Ikoyi was not a house.
It was a statement.
3 floors of pale stone and floor-to-ceiling glass, surrounded by a garden that smelled of frangipani and fresh-cut grass, with uniformed staff moving quietly along its edges like a household trained to be invisible. Amara stepped out of the car and tilted her chin up. "Stand straight," she told herself. "You have faced harder things than a rich man's house." She could not immediately think of what those things were, but she held on to the feeling. The family was waiting in the sitting room, a space that could have held Mama Chisholm's entire store 3 times over. They had arranged themselves in a way that already told Amara everything she needed to know. Chief Okonkwo stood near the window, host, center of gravity. Beside him, slightly too close, with one hand touching his arm, was his wife, Ngozi. She was beautiful in the expensive, maintained way of a woman who has decided that looking effortless is her full-time work. She wore burgundy, and her smile when she saw Amara was perfect, perfectly placed, perfectly warm, perfectly empty. Across the room, sitting alone on a cream-colored sofa, was a young woman in a loose black dress, looking at her phone as if the room and everyone in it were mildly boring. This was Adiz, the daughter, 24, with her father's eyes and something guarded moving behind them. And in a chair near the bookshelf, very still, very quiet, was Ifeoma, the dead son's fiancée. She was perhaps 27, slim, with close-cropped hair and the look of someone who had cried so often and so deeply that their face had settled into a permanent expression of held breath. She looked at Remy when he walked in, and something moved through her face. Not recognition exactly, but pain made suddenly physical. Then she looked at Amara, and her eyes said, "Be careful in this house." Chief Okonkwo made introductions with the smoothness of a man accustomed to managing rooms. Ngozi took both of Amara's hands in hers. "What a remarkable girl," she said. "Junior has told us everything. You are so brave." The word brave in her mouth sounded like something else entirely. Something that rhymed with foolish or disposable. Remy walked directly to Ifeoma. He sat at her feet. He did not look at Chief Okonkwo. Did not go to Ngozi, who extended a hand toward him with a smile. Did not investigate the room. He went to the quiet woman in the chair near the bookshelf and sat at her feet, as if he had always known she was where he needed to be. Ifeoma's hands came down and rested on his head.
Slowly.
Like she was afraid if she moved too fast, this moment would end. Ngozi's smile flickered. Just once.
Just for a second.
But Amara saw it. Dinner was served by staff who moved like water, smooth, efficient, absent. The food was extraordinary. Egusi soup thick with stockfish and goat meat, jollof rice the color of sunset, fried plantain arranged in fans, a salad that looked too beautiful to eat. In the middle of a Lagos Island mansion, this meal felt like a funeral with very good catering. Chief Okonkwo sat at the head, Ngozi to his right, Adiz beside her mother, still on her phone, picking at her food, Ifeoma and Amara across from them, Junior near the door, eating nothing, watching everything. The conversation was a performance. Ngozi led it, asking Amara questions about herself in a tone that suggested she was conducting an interview for a position she had already filled. "Where are you from? Where is your family? What are your plans for education?" Each question polite, each one pointed. "I am an orphan," Amara said, simply, the third time Ngozi circled back to family. "I have been since I was 9. I have no plans that other people have mapped out for me. I make my own." Adiz looked up from her phone for the first time. It was Ifeoma who spoke next, quietly. "Chukwemeka would have liked you," she said. The table went silent. Chief Okonkwo cleared his throat. Ngozi's hand went to her wine glass. "We don't need to bring Chukwemeka into dinner conversation," Ngozi said pleasantly. "Why not?" Ifeoma said, with a gentleness that was somehow more dangerous than anger. "He lived in this house. He sat at this table. He loved that dog." She looked down at Remy, who had been allowed to stay near her chair. "We are allowed to say his name." Amara watched Ngozi, and what she saw on the woman's face, for the half-second before the smile returned, was not grief. It was calculation. After dinner, Chief Okonkwo walked Amara to the garden. "Well," he said. "Ifeoma did not let the dog out," Amara said. He looked at her sharply. "How do you know?" "Because she loves him." She loves the dog because the dog was your son's. That dog is the last living thing that remembers Chukwuemeka as he was every day. She would never hurt it. Chief Okonkwo was quiet. Then who? He said. I think you already know, Amara said. And I think it scares you. Because the answer means something is very wrong inside your house. And a man like you, with everything you have built, the idea that the danger is inside the walls you built to keep danger out.
She stopped.
Because she had just seen something. Across the garden, in the warm light spilling from the sitting room window, Ngozi was on her phone. And she was watching them. And she was not smiling. The call came to Amara at 2 a.m. An unknown number. She almost did not answer. But something, the same instinct that had made her step between a powerful man and a bleeding dog in a Lagos market, told her to pick up. What would you do at 2 a.m. when an unknown number called, and everything in you said, "This is important"? Hit like if your gut has ever saved you, and tell us where you're watching from right now. Don't bring the dog back to that house. The voice was a woman's. Low, controlled, and afraid. Promise me you won't bring him back yet.
Who is this?
Amara said. A pause. Adiz, the voice said. Okonkwo's daughter. Amara sat up in the dark. Beside her, Remy lifted his head. How did you get this number? Junior, Adiz said. He doesn't know I took it from his phone. Listen, I don't have much time. My mother checks my phone. She checks everything in this house. She has for the past 2 years, and I have. She stopped. I can't say everything. Not like this. But you need to know that the dog being out on the street was not an accident, and it was not random, and the person who did it is still in that house, and they will do it again. Adiz, Amara said carefully. Are you safe? Silence. Is your father safe? Amara pressed. He doesn't see what is happening, Adiz said. He trusts her. He has always trusted her. She is very good at being trusted. Another pause. She got rid of Chukwuemeka's things. His room. She told Daddy it was for healing. She sends Ifeoma on errands that keep her out of the house for days at a time. And she has been having meetings, business meetings, she says, with a man named Bankole Adeyemi. A breath. Mr. Adeyemi is a lawyer who specializes in estate restructuring. The word estate landed in Amara's chest like a stone. Adiz, she said. Why are you telling me this? Because you are not afraid of her, Adiz said. And everyone else in this house is. The line went dead. Amara sat in the dark for a long time. She was 17 years old with 42 naira and a borrowed mat and a dog that did not belong to her. She knew nothing about estate law, business manipulation, or the internal politics of billionaire marriages. What she knew was this. A woman she had met once across a dinner table had eyes like a calculator. And a man who had been unkind to a dog in a moment of grief was going to lose everything he had built. Not to chance, not to time, but to a plan that was already in motion. And nobody was going to tell him. Because everyone in his house was either complicit, afraid, or invisible. Except, perhaps, Amara. She got up, wrapped her cloth around her shoulders, and sat with Remy in the small back room of Mama Chisholm's store, thinking until the sky outside the single high window began to go from black to dark blue to gray. At 6 a.m, she called Junior. I need to meet your boss today, she said. Not at the office. Somewhere she can't know about. Junior was quiet for a moment. You've spoken to Adiz, he said. Yes. I've been trying to find a way to tell him for 6 months, Junior said. His voice was different now, stripped of the professional smoothness, something rawer underneath. Every time I get close, I think about what she will do if she finds out. She is connected, Amara. Beyond Chief. She has her own, she has people. I know, Amara said. But we have something she doesn't expect. What is that? A 17-year-old orphan girl that nobody is watching, Amara said. Nobody powerful ever pays attention to the people they consider small. That has always been their mistake. By 10 a.m, she was sitting in a corner booth of a small restaurant in Yaba, far enough from Ikoyi that Ngozi's network would not easily place it, ordinary enough that nobody would look twice. Chief Okonkwo arrived in a private car, no driver, wearing plain clothes for the first time she had seen, a simple Ankara shirt, reading glasses pushed up on his head. He looked older without the performance of power. More human. She told him everything Adiz had said. She told him about Benkol Adeyemi. She told him about Ifeoma being systematically sidelined. She told him what she had seen on Ngozi's face in the garden. He listened without moving. When she finished, he took off his glasses and pressed the bridge of his nose. "How long?" he said. The question seemed to be for himself more than her. "How long has this been in the planning?" "I don't know," Amara said. But the dog, releasing Kalu, that wasn't cruelty for its own sake. It was a message. Or a test. She was seeing how much she could take from you before you noticed. Before you reacted. He looked at her. "And you are telling me this because you were kind to me," Amara said.
"Once."
After being cruel, most people only manage one or the other. The fact that you could do both means you are still capable of becoming better. She looked at him steadily. "I don't give loyalty to power. I give it to people who are still becoming. You are still becoming, Chief." Don't let her finish the sentence for you. He was quiet for a very long time.
"What do I do?" he said.
It was perhaps the most honest thing he had ever asked anyone. "First," Amara said, "you stop letting her know what you know. You go home tonight, and you act normal. You give nothing away." She paused. "And you find out everything you can about Benkol Adeyemi before she realizes you're looking." Chief Okonkwo put his glasses back on. His jaw set. "I have lawyers," he said. "And investigators." "Good," Amara said. "Use them quietly." She stood to leave. "Amara." He stopped her. "Kalu, how is he?" She almost smiled. "He slept across my feet again last night. He has been doing that since the first night." She picked up her bag. "He trusts easily for a dog that has been hurt. It is his best quality. Don't let it become his last." She walked out into the Yaba morning, motorbikes and music and the smell of roasting corn, and had gone half a block when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Not Adiz's number. A new one. "We know you met him in Yaba. Next time, stay in your lane, little girl. This doesn't concern you." Amara stopped walking. Her hands were not shaking this time. Amara texted back 4 words.
"Come find me then."
Have you ever sent a message knowing it would start a war, but sent it anyway? Like, if courage means doing it scared, and drop your location in the comments right now, we're building a family here. Then she put the phone in her bag and went back to Mama Chisholm's store and did not tell anyone what she had done. She helped a customer find noodles on the back shelf, swept the entrance, gave Remy his afternoon food, and quietly lost her mind for approximately 45 minutes before the calm returned. The calm returned because she was not alone. That was the thing about Amara that most people who underestimated her failed to understand. She had learned, in years of having nothing, to build things from whatever was available. She had no money, no family name, no connections. What she had was a community, small, imperfect, fiercely loyal. Mama Chisholm, who had taken her in without a formal reason. Tund, who brought chicken bones and stayed for the company. Junior, who had been carrying guilt and information for 6 months and was looking for someone brave enough to do something with it. And now, perhaps, Adiz, whose fear had curdled into something that looked, cautiously, like courage. Amara called Adiz that afternoon from Mama Chisholm's back room while the older woman pretended to count inventory 10 feet away. She could hear Mama Chisholm's ears moving. "Are you at home?" Amara asked. "Yes," Adiz said. "She's upstairs. She had a call this morning long in the bedroom with the door locked. Daddy has gone to the office."
"Adiz.
I need you to do something. I need you to find out where Ifeoma is right now." She was sent to Abuja. Mother said there's some paperwork to sign. She said it's about Chukwemeka's estate, something that needs Ifeoma's signature as next of kin. A pause. "But Daddy doesn't know." She told Ifeoma that Daddy authorized it, and she told Daddy that Ifeoma decided to visit her people in Abuja. Amara closed her eyes. So, Ifeoma is signing documents in Abuja that she doesn't know she shouldn't sign. Yes. Call her.
Now.
Before she signs anything. I don't have her number. Mother manages. She managed all the contact in the house. After Chukwamika died, she said it was easier for her to coordinate everything. Of course she did, Amara thought. Junior, Amara said. Junior will have Ifeoma's number. She got it in 10 minutes. She called Ifeoma on the way to the market, walking fast, voice low, Remy trotting beside her on the red leather collar Tund had bought. Ifeoma picked up on the second ring. Amara? She sounded surprised. Why are you? Are you with a lawyer? Amara said. Right now. Today, are you meeting anyone? A pause. I have a meeting at 3 o'clock. At a law firm here in Abuja. For documents related to. Don't go, Amara said. Silence. Ifeoma.
Please.
Don't sign anything until you have spoken to Chief Okonkwo directly. Call him yourself. Not through anyone in the house. Call his direct number and tell him where you are and what you are about to sign. A breath. I think someone is using your name and your grief to take something from this family. And I think you are the one person they calculated would be too broken to fight back. She heard Ifeoma breathing on the other end of the line. She told me, Ifeoma said slowly, that this was what Chukwamika would have wanted. Did she? Amara said.
Yes.
She said he made provisions before he died. For my financial security. And that the paperwork was just to formalize. She stopped. Oh God. Call Chief Okonkwo, Amara said.
Now.
She hung up. By evening 3 things had happened. First, Ifeoma had called Chief Okonkwo. He had confirmed, voice tight with controlled fury, that he had authorized no such documents and had no knowledge of any meeting in Abuja. He had already called his personal lawyers. Second, someone, Ngozi's people, Amara had to assume, had gone to the provision store while Amara was out. Nothing was taken. Nothing was broken. But Remy's corner behind the counter had been disturbed.
His water bowl moved.
His blanket folded differently than Amara had left it. It was a message. We can reach what you love. Mama Chisholm showed Amara without speaking, just standing beside the corner and looking at it. Third, a man had been waiting outside the store when Amara returned, not large and obvious like the earlier ones, but slight, quick-looking, wearing a t-shirt printed with the logo of a phone company. He had handed Amara a sealed envelope and walked away without a word. Inside the envelope was a single printed page. A document summary. Not the full document, just the summary. But it was enough. It was a power of attorney, designed to transfer significant portions of Chief Okonkwo's estate management to Ngozi's sole discretion in the event that he became incapacitated. The page was unsigned, but it bore the name of Benkole Adeyemi's firm at the top. Ifeoma's name appeared twice. As a witness. As someone who had apparently already expressed support. Amara stared at the page. Then she thought of something she had not considered until this moment.
Who had sent the envelope?
If Ngozi's people were watching Amara, who was watching Ngozi? She turned the envelope over. On the back, in small neat handwriting, there's more. And not all of us serve her willingly.
B.A.
Benkole Adeyemi. The lawyer himself. This story just grew 3 new layers. Are you holding on? Don't you dare leave now. Subscribe, like this video, and comment. Did you see that twist coming? We're talking to you in the replies. Benkole Adeyemi was 51 years old, and he was afraid. Have you ever been so deep inside someone else's wrong that you couldn't see the way out? Like if you've ever been trapped by a choice you didn't fully make, and drop your city in the comments. We're reading everything. He met Amara in a small cafe in Surulere, neutral ground, chosen by him, 40 minutes from Ikoyi, 50 minutes from the office where his name was on the wall in brass lettering. He arrived before she did and sat at a table near the window with a cup of tea he was not drinking and hands that had not been entirely still since the morning he received a call, 2 years ago, from a woman named Ngozi Okonkwo, who had smiled through the phone line. He was a small man in a large life, a lawyer who had built his reputation on corporate restructuring, who had a wife named Bimp in Ikeja and 2 daughters in secondary school and a mortgage that cost more than it should. He was the kind of man that powerful people found useful because he was smart and thorough and just afraid enough. When Amara walked in wearing her everyday clothes, simple blouse, flat sandals, no pretension, he blinked. He had expected someone older. Someone more official. She sat across from him and looked at him directly and said, "Tell me from the beginning." He told her. It had started, as these things often do, with something that seemed almost reasonable. Ngozi had come to him for routine estate planning advice, what any wealthy couple might need. Legal provisions in the event of illness. Asset protection. Trust structures. Normal. But then, slowly, over 18 months, the requests had shifted. More complex provisions. Clauses that gave her sole decision-making authority in vague, incapacity scenarios. The language around Chief Okonkwo's mental fitness just mentioned casually in passing, in the way you slip something into tea. He's been under such stress. His grief has affected his judgment. He's not always present. Bankole had started drafting documents he was not entirely comfortable with. He told himself it was legal. It was legal. It was simply thorough planning. And then she had brought Ifeoma into it. She said Ifeoma was aware. Bankole said. She said Ifeoma had agreed. She presented it as compassion, as providing for the girl who had lost her fiancé. I drafted the documents. I sent the meeting invitation.
He looked at his tea.
I am not a good man. But I did not think she intended real harm. Not until last week. What happened last week? Amara said. He reached into his briefcase. He placed a second document on the table, this one more complete, more dense with legal language. She asked me to draft this, he said. A formal petition. For a mental competency evaluation. For Chief Okonkwo. Amara went very still. If the evaluation went her way, Bankole continued, she would have grounds to petition for full estate control as primary spouse. Combined with the power of attorney document, she would effectively control everything. He looked up. Everything he has built. Everything his son should have inherited. Everything Ifeoma is entitled to as Chukwuemeka's designated partner. She was going to have him declared incompetent, Amara said. She was going to begin the process, Bankole said. She has been building the case quietly for 2 years. His behavior after his son's death, the grief, the moments of anger, the pulling back from social life, she has documented all of it. With a sympathetic evaluator, and she had one in mind, he stopped. Why are you telling me this? Amara said. He was quiet. Because I have daughters, he said finally. And last week, when she sat across from me and talked about the mental competency petition, she smiled. Like this was routine. Like this man who built schools and hospitals, like he was a file to be closed. He spread his hands. I cannot undo what I drafted, but I can refuse to proceed. And I can make sure someone with the ability to stop this has the information to do it. What do you want in return? Amara said. I want my involvement limited, he said. I want to cooperate quietly. I want my family safe. Amara looked at him for a long time. You will have to make a statement, she said. Eventually. To Chief Okonkwo's lawyers. You understand that? Yes. And to him personally. Bankole nodded. His jaw was tight. I will help you arrange it, Amara said. But you have to be ready when the moment comes. No retreating. No sudden memory loss. She leaned forward. People who stand up halfway are worse than people who stay down. I need you to stand all the way up. He looked at her, this teenager in flat sandals, and something in his face shifted. How old are you? He said. Old enough, Amara said, and stood to leave. She was halfway to the door when he said, Amara. She turned. She knows you've been talking to the family, he said. She knows Junior has been communicating outside the house. She is moving faster now. Whatever you are planning, please do it quickly. Amara walked out into the surreal afternoon. She called Junior. He picked up immediately. Is Chief with you? She said. Yes. Tell him tonight. Everything. All of it. Don't wait for a better time. He's going to. It will break him, Amara. It will break him worse if she finishes, she said. Truth at the wrong moment is still better than the right moment that never comes. Okay, Junior said. A breath. Okay. She hung up. Then her phone rang.
Adiz.
Amara answered. She's leaving the house, Adiz said, voice barely above a whisper. With 2 suitcases. She said she's going to visit her sister in Port Harcourt for the week. Amara felt her stomach drop. She is running, she thought. She knows it's unraveling.
Adiz, she said.
Is Ifioma back yet from Abuja?
No.
She's taking the evening flight. Can you delay your mother? Even 30 minutes.
How?
Adiz said. She doesn't need me to. Fall apart, Amara said. Tell her you're not well. Tell her you need her. Tell her whatever you need to tell her. A pause. She is still your mother. Somewhere in her, there may still be something that responds to you. A very long silence. I don't know if there is, Adiz said. And the grief in her voice was its own kind of answer. Ngozi did not leave that night. Adiz had stood at the top of the stairs and cried, real tears, years of real tears that had been waiting for exactly this kind of exit, and her mother had set down the larger suitcase and stood at the bottom of the stairs looking up, and her face had done something complicated. Have you ever watched someone you loved choose power over family and felt the exact moment when you knew? Like if you have, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We need to know you're here with us. Not love. Not quite. But something. The remnant of something. Enough to make her stay. Enough for Junior to do what Amara had told him to do. He sat with Chief Okonkwo in the man's private study at 9 that evening and laid it out. The documents, Bankole Adeyemi's information, the calls, the petition, the plan. He had printed everything. He placed it on the desk in a neat stack and stood back. Chief Okonkwo did not shout. He did not throw things. He sat in his chair and read. He read for 40 minutes without speaking, turning pages with the careful slowness of a man who is reading with his whole body, who feels each sentence in his chest. When he finished, he closed the last page. And he asked Junior one question. How long have you known? Junior told him. The silence that followed was the kind that rearranges furniture in a room without touching anything. I should have been told sooner, Chief said. Yes, sir. You should have trusted me to handle it. I was afraid of what it would do to you, sir. After everything with Chukwuemeka. Don't. Chief held up one hand. It was not anger. It was a man protecting himself from something that might undo him if he let it land. Don't use my son's name as a reason for keeping me ignorant.
He stood.
He walked to the window. When Chukwuemeka was alive, this house was different. You know that. She was different. He pressed his hand flat against the glass. Or perhaps I was just too happy to see what she was. Junior said nothing. Call my lawyers, Chief said. Chinedu ease. Tonight. I don't care what time it is. Yes, sir. And Junior. Chief turned. Tell me about the girl.
Amara.
Tell me everything you know. Downstairs, Ngozi was sitting in the sitting room with Adiz, holding her daughter's hand and talking about nothing in particular. Weekend plans, a restaurant she had read about in Port Harcourt, whether the rains had started early this year. Her voice was perfectly warm. Her eyes were perfectly present. And on her phone, face down on the cushion beside her, a message was waiting. From a contact listed only as OT. They know. Get out. But Ngozi did not pick up her phone. She held her daughter's hand and talked about the weather. Because she had been in difficult rooms before, and she knew that the person who panics first loses. The next morning, Chief Okonkwo came down to breakfast at 7. Ngozi was already at the table, dressed elegantly, pouring tea. You're not going to Port Harcourt, he said. I decided to stay, she said. Adiz needed me. Good, he said. He sat down. He accepted the tea she poured. He said, I thought we might visit lawyer Chinedu East together today. He has some papers he'd like us both to review. Ngozi's hand was perfectly still on the teapot. Of course, she said. Whatever you need. It was the steadiness of her that undid him. Not the guilt, not the fear, the steadiness. It told him that she had done this before. That she was accustomed to managing discovery. That she had practiced. He looked at this woman he had married 28 years ago. He thought of Chukwuemeka. of the way his son had called on Sunday mornings just to talk, of the dog, of all the small things he had not seen. "Ngozi," he said, "is there anything you want to tell me? Before we go?" She looked at him over the rim of her teacup. Her eyes were steady. "Nothing I can think of," she said. At 10 in the morning, in Chinita Isa's conference room in Lagos Island, the confrontation happened quietly, not with shouting or tears, or the kind of drama that makes noise. It happened with documents placed on a table and a lawyer who knew what each one meant and a woman who looked at each page and calculated, in real time, which position to take. She admitted some. She denied others. She pivoted to concern, to misunderstanding, to marital strain. She was extraordinary to watch. Amara, sitting in the corner, invited by Chief Okonkwo, introduced to the lawyers as someone whose judgment I trust, a sentence that had made Chinidu Ease look twice, watched it all, until Ifeoma walked in. She had come straight from the airport, still in travel clothes, tired-eyed. When she walked into the conference room and saw the documents on the table and saw Ngozi across it, she stopped in the doorway. "She forged my support," Ifeoma said quietly. "I never agreed to anything. I want to say that, in front of everyone in this room, whatever paper has my name on it, I never agreed." Ngozi began to say something. Chinidu raised his hand. "Mrs. Okonkwo," he said, "I recommend you speak only through your own counsel from this point." Ngozi looked across the room. Her eyes found Amara in the corner. And for the first time since Amara had met her, Ngozi Okonkwo's face showed something real. Not remorse. Not guilt. Fury. The cold, clean fury of a woman who had built something intricate and watched it come apart at the hands of someone she had never considered a threat. "You," she said. Amara held her gaze and said nothing. The courtyard of Chief Okonkwo's home in Ikoyi was quiet on a Saturday morning 3 weeks later. The frangipani was still in bloom. The fountain was still running. Somewhere inside the house, a member of staff was playing music, Fela Kuti, old and warm and knowing, and it drifted through the open archway into the morning air like something that had waited a long time to be let out. Have you ever watched someone you were rooting for finally breathe again? Like if you believe in the kind of strength that comes from nothing, and drop your location below. Every single one of you matters to us today. Ngozi Okonkwo had moved out 11 days ago. It had not been dramatic. Or rather, it had been dramatic in the way that true endings always are, quietly, finally, with the weight of a door closing on something that was already long gone. The lawyers were still working. There would be proceedings, settlements, the long procedural work of dismantling a marriage that had hidden a conspiracy inside it for years. Chinidu Ease had filed the necessary documents. Bankole Adeyemi had made his statement, sitting across from Chief Okonkwo in person, hands clasped, voice steady, saying what he had done and why, and what he was prepared to do to correct it. Chief Okonkwo had listened without speaking for 20 minutes and then said, simply, "Get out of my sight. And if you ever work with someone against a grieving man again, I will make sure everyone in this country knows your name." It was not forgiveness, but it was human, and it left room for Bankole to become, perhaps, something slightly better. Adiz had moved back into her childhood bedroom. She and her father had eaten dinner together for the first time in years, just the two of them, quietly, with Remy under the table. They had not talked about Ngozi. They had talked about Chukwuemeka. They had laughed once, remembering something he used to do with pepper soup, and then they had both cried, and neither of them apologized for the tears. Ifeoma had asked to stay. Not in the way she had stayed before. Invisible, managed, shuttled out of the way. She had asked with dignity, as herself, and Chief Okonkwo had said yes in the same spirit. She was grieving. She was still becoming. She deserved walls and a door, and a family that acknowledged her. These were not small things. Now, on this Saturday morning, Amara sat in the courtyard on a low stone bench with Remy beside her. The dog's ribs had healed. His ear would always be torn. He had a scar along his side that his new coat of healthy fur did not quite cover. He was not the same animal he had been before the street. He was quieter, more watchful. But he was also more affectionate, as if the experience of having nearly nothing and then being given something had taught him not to waste what was given. Amara understood that feeling precisely. Chief Okonkwo came out of the house carrying 2 cups of tea. He had done this, brought her tea, the last 3 times she had visited. She had started to suspect he found it easier to express things with gestures than with words.
She respected that.
Words could be arranged to mislead. A cup of tea, made the way someone liked it, was honest. He sat beside her. They were quiet for a moment. The foundation board met on Thursday, he said. I have been, for some time, planning to establish a scholarship program for young women in Lagos. Girls who aged out of the care system. Girls without family support. He looked at his tea. I have been planning it for 2 years. I never found the right moment. A pause. I have been thinking that perhaps the moment chose itself. Amara looked at him. I would like you to be part of it, he said. Not as a beneficiary only, though you will be if you choose to be. Your education will be funded. Fully. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to study. He looked at her directly. But also as someone who helps design it. Because you understand something about how those girls think and what they need that I, with all my resources, cannot understand from the outside. Amara was quiet for a long time. You know, she said, the day I found Remy, I was on my way to buy tomatoes. Chief Okonkwo blinked. Tomatoes, she repeated. I had 30 naira. I was going to make stew for Mama Chisholm. I had no plan beyond that. No ambitions for the afternoon. No intention of getting involved in anyone's war or anyone's family or anyone's grief. She looked at the dog, who had placed his chin on her knee with the comfortable weight of trust. But he was bleeding. And I couldn't walk past something bleeding and not stop. I don't know if that's bravery, or if it's just the way I was made. I have been stopping for things that needed stopping my whole life, and it has cost me a great deal, and it has also given me everything I have. She looked at Chief Okonkwo. Mama Chisholm is everything I have. Tund is everything I have. Remy Kalu is part of everything I have. I stopped because stopping was the right thing. I want you to know that I did not stop because I wanted something from you. I know, he said. But I will accept, she said. The scholarship and the foundation work. Not because I owe you, and not because you owe me, but because those girls are real and they need what neither of us can give alone. He nodded. He extended his hand. She shook it. Remy thumped his tail against the stone bench. From inside the house came Adi's voice, calling something about breakfast, and Junior's reply and Ifeoma's laugh, short and surprised, as if she had not expected to laugh and was not sure yet whether to trust it. But it was there. It was real. It was beginning. Mama Chisholm arrived at noon, wearing her best wrapper, carrying a container of jollof rice because she did not trust any house, no matter how fine, to have proper jollof. She walked through the gate of the Ikoyi compound with the posture of a woman who has survived 11 years of difficult markets and one very eventful few weeks, and she is not impressed by fountains, but she will admit, privately, that this garden smells wonderful. Chief Okonkwo met her at the gate. Madam Chisholm, he said, I have been hoping to meet you properly. Mama Chisholm looked him up and down. You are the man who nearly kicked my daughter's dog, she said. He did not flinch. Yes. And then she talked sense into you. Yes. Mama Chisholm considered this. Good, she said. Sense is free. It costs nothing to receive it. The problem with powerful people is they forget that. She pushed the container of jollof into his hands. Warm it before you serve it. And don't let anybody add tomato paste. It's already perfect. She walked into the compound. Chief Okonkwo stood at the gate holding the container, and on his face was an expression Amara had not seen there before. Peace. Tentative, new, not fully trusted, but real. Remy walked to him. He sat at the man's feet. He looked up at him with those tired, surviving eyes that had seen a boot raised and a hand extended, and all the complicated space in between. Chief Okonkwo set the jollof on the low wall. He knelt down. He held out his hand. Remy sniffed it. Then, slowly, carefully, like a man in a meeting who wants to make a good impression, he licked it once. Inside the house, fellas still played. The frangipani still bloomed. Somewhere a table was being set and jollof was being warmed and a family, fractured, reconstructed, strange in its new shape, was getting ready to eat together. And Amara sat in the courtyard of a powerful man's house, wearing her own clothes, thinking about the girl she had been 3 weeks ago with 30 naira and a bag of tomatoes, and she thought, I did not become someone else. I just kept being myself until the world had to make room. That was the lesson. Not the money or the scholarship or the foundation or the justice. The lesson was simpler and harder and older than any of those things. Kindness is not weakness. It is the most radical thing a person with nothing can choose. And when you choose it long enough and fiercely enough, it changes the room you're standing in. Tund appeared at the gate at 1 o'clock, slightly out of breath, still in his Chelsea jersey. He had taken 2 buses from Lagos Island. I brought groundnuts, he said, holding up a bag. Is there jollof? Yes, Samara said. Is the dog okay? She looked at Remy, who was now lying across Chief Okonkwo's feet in the warm noon sun, both of them still, both of them breathing. Yes, she said. The dog is okay. Good, Tun said, and went inside to find the jollof. If this story moved something in you today, if you felt Amara's courage, Mama Chisholm's warmth, or the truth of choosing kindness when you have nothing, then this channel was made for you. Subscribe right now and ring that notification bell because we post new stories every single week and every one of them will make you feel something real. Share this story with the woman in your life who needs to hear that strength doesn't always look like power. Sometimes it looks like a 17-year-old girl standing between a man and a dog in a Lagos market. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What was your favorite moment? What made you cry? What made you smile? And most importantly, where in the world are you watching from today? We read every single comment. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end. We'll see you in the next story.